Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Titanic? Released on December 19th, 1997, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. Titanic isn't just a love story. It's an epic that combines historical tragedy, sweeping romance, and groundbreaking filmmaking. Set in 1912 aboard the largest ship ever built at the time, the RMS Titanic, the film introduces us to two characters from opposite worlds. Jack Dawson, a free-spirited artist with no money but plenty of charm, wins a third-class ticket aboard the ship during a poker game. Rose DeWitt Bukater, trapped in the expectations of high society, boards Titanic with her wealthy fiancé Cal and her controlling mother. From the moment Jack and Rose meet, the story takes shape. Not just of a romance, but of rebellion, freedom, and what it means to truly live. The brilliance of James Cameron's direction lies in how he weaves their fictional love into the real events of the Titanic disaster. From the intricate set designs to the historically accurate costumes, everything feels lived in and authentic. The grandeur of the ship is brought to life in extraordinary detail, from the sweeping staircases to the cramped boiler rooms. And as the voyage progresses, we see not just the glamour of first class, but the vibrant energy and community of third class, giving us a glimpse into the stark class divisions of the time. As Jack and Rose grow closer, their story becomes a quiet rebellion against the rigid social expectations surrounding them. One of the film's most memorable moments, where Rose asks Jack to draw her, isn't just iconic. It's a powerful moment of vulnerability and control. She begins to reclaim her identity, choosing authenticity over appearance. But as their relationship deepens, the film's tone begins to shift. When Titanic hits the iceberg, everything changes. The second half of the film transforms into a masterclass in tension and pacing. The collision scene, based on historical records and expert consultations, unfolds with haunting realism. There's no sudden explosion or exaggerated chaos, just the slow, terrifying inevitability of disaster. Water begins to rise. Crew members scramble to assess damage, and passengers, mostly unaware of the danger, continue to dance and dine. That gradual build-up creates a deep sense of dread that never lets up. As the ship begins to sink, Cameron's focus never strays from the human element. We see fear, sacrifice, denial, and bravery. Some passengers fight for their lives. Others accept their fate. And all the while, Jack and Rose struggle to stay together, navigating flooded corridors, collapsing decks, and growing panic. The technical achievement in these sequences is staggering. Practical effects, massive water tanks, and precise set designs make the sinking feel almost too real to watch comfortably. Even in its most dramatic moments, the film never loses its emotional core. Jack's final moments aren't just about romance. They're about selflessness, hope, and legacy. And when Rose survives, clutching the promise she made to live fully, the story lingers with viewers in a deeply personal way. The ending doesn't just tie up a love story. It echoes the grief and resilience tied to one of history's greatest maritime tragedies. The framing device of the film, set in the present day with treasure hunter Brock Lovett and his team searching for a priceless diamond, adds a reflective layer. When elderly Rose arrives to tell her story, we realize this isn't just a recounting of events. It's a meditation on memory, love, and what we carry with us. The contrast between past and present deepens the emotional weight of the story, reminding us that even in disaster, beauty and connection endure. Titanic went on to become a global phenomenon. It earned over $2 billion at the box office and won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. But its impact goes beyond accolades. It introduced an entire generation to the tragedy of the Titanic, sparked renewed interest in maritime history, and redefined what a blockbuster could be. The chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet became legendary. The musical score by James Horner, especially the theme that runs throughout the film, carries emotion without a single word. Every element, performance, production, direction, works together to create something timeless. Titanic is more than a movie. It's a moment in cinema history when storytelling, technology, and emotion aligned. It reminds us how fragile life is, how love can rise above fear, and how stories, true or imagined, can echo across time. Thanks for watching this deep dive into Titanic. If this journey moved you or brought back memories of the first time you watched the film, give this video a like and let us know your favorite moment in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more detailed explorations of the movies that shaped us. Until next time, keep watching with heart. Titanic hit theaters on December 19, 1997, and from the moment it began rolling on screens across the world, it wasn't just a movie. It was an event, a phenomenon, a cinematic tidal wave that pulled everyone into its orbit. Directed by James Cameron, already known at the time for his masterful control of action and scale, Titanic became something far bigger than anyone could have expected. It took a well-known historical disaster and turned it into an emotionally wrenching, visually dazzling, and deeply human experience. It didn't just tell a story, it built a world, one that millions would return to again and again. What makes Titanic so extraordinary, even decades after its release, isn't any one element. It's the way every piece fits together. The direction, the writing, the performances, the music, the staggering technical achievements, and the emotional depth all working in perfect harmony. You can point to the love story between Jack and Rose, the unforgettable score by James Horner, or the sweeping cinematography that made a ship from 1912 feel alive again. But more than anything, it's the way the film captures the extremes of life, love and loss, hope and despair, beauty and destruction, all in the space of just over 3 hours. At its core, Titanic is a love story, but not just a romantic one. It's also about love of freedom, love of life, and love in the face of tragedy. Jack Dawson is a free-spirited artist with nothing but a sketchbook and an appetite for life. He wins a third-class ticket onto the RMS Titanic in a last-minute poker game. His future unknown but wide open. Rose DeWitt Bukater is his opposite in almost every way. Upper class, engaged to a wealthy man she doesn't love, and emotionally suffocating under the weight of expectation. When their paths cross on the deck of that ship, it changes both of them forever. Their story is electric from the start, not because of over-the-top drama, but because of the intimacy, the tension, and the raw emotion layered into every glance, every line, every moment they share. But this isn't just a story about two people falling in love. Titanic expertly lures the audience in with charm and romance, then slowly raises the stakes. We know, of course, that the ship is doomed, but that doesn't lessen the impact when the iceberg finally strikes. In fact, the inevitability of it makes every tender moment between Jack and Rose more urgent, more heartbreaking, more meaningful. The first half of the film is a dance between character and setting, immersing us in the details of ship life, from lavish dining rooms and grand staircases to gritty engine rooms and crowded steerage parties. The second half shifts gears entirely, becoming a harrowing survival epic that doesn't let up until the final frame. The visuals of Titanic set a new bar for what cinema could do. The ship itself was a marvel of design and practical effects. Cameron insisted on building a near full-scale replica of the vessel, and the result was nothing short of breathtaking. Everything from the ornate decor of first class to the massive steel hull of the lower decks was recreated with obsessive precision. Watching the ship tilt, break apart, and sink into the ocean isn't just impressive. It's overwhelming, a masterclass in tension and disaster choreography that still holds up against any modern blockbuster. Then there's the sound, the deep creaking of the ship, the rush of water flooding corridors, the chaotic shouting of passengers, and underneath it all, Horner's haunting, emotional score. It's not just music, it's memory. It's grief and longing and love all tied together in a few unforgettable notes. And of course, it gave us My Heart Will Go On, a song so iconic it became almost inseparable from the movie itself. Some scoffed at it at the time. Now, it's part of the film's DNA, just like the ship, just like Jack and Rose. What elevates Titanic beyond being a technical marvel is the human element. the performances that anchor the story and make it resonate. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, both in their early 20s when the film was made, gave performances that instantly transformed them into global stars. DiCaprio's Jack is warm, open, and effortlessly charming. Winslet's Rose is layered, restrained, and brimming with internal conflict. Together, they created one of cinema's most iconic couples. Not because their romance was flashy or overdone, but because it felt real. It was about finding connection in a place that discouraged it, about seeing someone for who they truly are. The supporting cast added even more depth. Billy Zane's Cal is chillingly possessive, a symbol of everything Rose is trying to escape. Kathy Bates as Molly Brown is both comic relief and quiet strength, a voice of reason amidst the chaos. And then there's the modern-day framing story, with Bill Paxton playing treasure hunter Brock Lovett, searching the ocean for a priceless diamond. His team's discovery of an elderly Rose, who returns to the site of the tragedy to recount her story, adds a reflective, emotional layer. Her memories become the heart of the film, reminding us that this isn't just a story of death. It's a story of survival, of legacy, of what stays with us even when everything else is gone. Titanic became a cultural phenomenon for reasons that go far beyond its box office success. Yes, it shattered records, becoming the first film to gross over $1 billion and eventually crossing the $2 billion mark. Yes, it swept the Academy Awards, winning 11 Oscars including Best Picture and Best Director. But more than that, it connected with people. It spoke to something universal, the fear of time slipping away, the desire to break free, the hope of being truly seen. People went back to see it not just once, but over and over. Lines formed around the block. It became part of pop culture in a way few films ever have, spawning everything from parodies to memes to serious historical conversations about the real Titanic. For younger viewers at the time, it was often their first brush with cinematic tragedy, their first realization that a movie could be beautiful and heartbreaking at once. For older audiences, it was a rediscovery of epic storytelling, a reminder of why we go to the movies in the first place. And for history buffs, it reignited an interest in the Titanic itself, leading to new documentaries, books, and explorations of what really happened on that fateful night in April 1912. It's easy to forget now, in a world saturated with CGI-heavy blockbusters and streaming content, how groundbreaking Titanic was. It came at a time when the industry was shifting, when audiences were beginning to demand more spectacle and emotion in equal measure. And Titanic delivered both. It wasn't just about watching something grand, it was about feeling something profound. That's what makes it worth revisiting, worth dissecting, worth exploring in depth. There are moments in Titanic that stay with you long after the credits roll. The first time Jack sees Rose standing at the rail, sunlight catching in her hair. The quiet moment when they stand at the bow of the ship, arms outstretched. The panic in the lower decks as families scramble for safety. The icy stillness of the water as Jack clings to a piece of debris, whispering his final words. And finally, the ending, ambiguous and emotional. As we see Rose, young again, walking up the staircase into Jack's arms, surrounded by all the lost souls of the Titanic. Is it a dream? A memory? A reunion beyond death? It doesn't matter. It's the emotional payoff of everything the film builds toward. For those who experienced Titanic in theaters back in 1997, it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime event. For those discovering it now, it holds up astonishingly well, not just as a product of its time, but as a timeless story about love, class, mortality, and memory. James Cameron didn't just recreate a ship, he built an experience. One that pulls you in with grandeur, hits you with heartbreak, and leaves you with something more than just a movie-going memory. It leaves you changed. And that's why it's worth diving deeper into every frame, every choice, every moment. Because Titanic isn't just a film about a ship that sank. It's a film about how something so brief, a few days on a voyage, can hold an entire lifetime of emotion. It's about the moments that define us, the people who change us, and the stories that never let go. Titanic's first half sails into motion with stark contrast and growing tension. From the very start you feel the anticipation. Not yet tragedy, but destiny shaping itself. You step onto the RMS Titanic, the largest ship ever built in 1912, a grand floating palace whose promise of hope and luxury pulses through every scene. It opens in our day with treasure hunter Brock Lovett searching the ocean floor for a legendary diamond, the heart of the ocean. That introduction hooks you with curiosity. When an elderly Rose appears and recognizes a drawing of a woman wearing the jewel, the narrative sweeps back to 1912 and slips into its central heartbeat. The journey, the relationships, the choices someone makes when everything stands to change. On board the ship, the world divides sharply. First class dazzles with opulence. Elegant dining rooms, sweeping staircases, tailored gowns. Third class pulses with life. Music, dancing, laughter, immigrants chasing new beginnings. Rose DeWitt Bukater inhabits first class, beset by duty. Engaged to Caledon Hockley, a wealthy industrialist, she's trapped beneath layers of expectation. Her mother pushes the union, but Rose is crumbling under anxiety and despair. She stands on the stern rail one night, lost in sorrow and contemplating the unthinkable. Jack Dawson, a penniless artist who won his third-class ticket in a poker game, spots her on the ship's railing. His approach is gentle curiosity. Her response is brittle defiance. That first exchange under cold starlight sets the emotional rhythm between them. Jack's world is one of spontaneity, art, laughter, and freedom. When he arrives in steerage with his friend Fabrizio, the contrast to Rose's life is immediate. They trade jokes, share meals, and live in the moment. He paints, he sketches, he lives. Rose, on the other hand, stands at a crossroads, her family's money or her own agency, her future handcuffed to a path she didn't choose. That early clash of worlds, of freedom versus obligation, gives the story its voltage. When Cal takes Rose to dinner in first class, we sense all the gilded weight she carries. The table conversation feels hollow, reduced to polite subservience and social display. Meanwhile, Jack and Fabrizio sneak into a first-class party and surprise everyone with their bold confidence. Jack dances with a sparkle of mischief and joy, and Rose watches with a flicker of recognition. A part of her stirred loose. She's both repelled and drawn to him, creating an invisible thread between star-crossed worlds. After that dance, Jack sketches Rose wearing nothing but the heart of the ocean. An intimate, daring moment that shatters their social differences. She becomes, through his art, someone seen at her core, not just a social ornament. This quiet rebellion, surrendering to trust and vulnerability, changes both of them. That drawing becomes the emotional pivot, the moment romance blooms and the possibility of real choice emerges. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, subtle hints of menace rise. The ship's crew have iceberg warnings. Cal dismisses them. Rose ignores them. The audience sees logs and telegrams stacking up. Cameron layers this information, not as blunt exposition, but as quiet dread. It's foreshadowing riding the wind against Titanic's charted course south. The atmosphere stays fair, serene, beautiful, even as prophecies of disaster simmer unseen. The first-class atmosphere continues to tighten on Rose. Cal's control stretches in subtle ways. Proposed symbols of ownership, like the necklace, his jealousy, and his insistence on appearance over authenticity. Rose's anguish grows tangible in her forced smile, in fleeting glances that carry fatigue and resignation. Jack remains the opposite, easy laughter, open heart. There's a moment when Rose steals away to meet him in steerage, to ride the upside-down chairs at a rowdy party. She lets herself breathe again in a room filled with new faces, new rhythms, new freedom. And Jack is there, alongside her, both anchor and release. What follows is the tender charge of their connection. From flirting at the rail to laughing in the lower decks, their chemistry intensifies. Each shared smile, each secret meeting, each stolen glance underlines something bigger than social lines. It's about shared humanity and choice. That night, as the band plays and the lights glow against the water, hope seems possible. Back with Cal, his world feels edges closing in. He gives Rose the necklace as both gift and symbol of possession, and Rose accepts it with trembling ambivalence. Their relationship is unraveling in miniature gestures. Tense silences, icy side glances, commands masquerading as concern. Cal senses Rose slipping from his carefully arranged world, though he can't name what's happening. The tension continues to build as the ship speeds through the North Atlantic near iceberg warnings. The wireless room is buzzing with messages, and yet the mood aboard remains celebratory. The crew's conversation, the layered warnings, the camera lingering on ice fields in the ship's path, all feed into an uneasy undercurrent beneath the surface glamour. The audience, armed with history, watches the tableau with growing dread, even as characters enjoy meals and dances. In a moment of daring liberation, Jack and Rose steal a night on the ship's bow. She stands at the railing with arms outstretched, the wind in her hair, Jack behind her holding steady. There's laughter, exhilaration, the thrum of connection. She says she's flying. It's a sprite-like joy, and in that instant she looks alive. And Jack looks at her as though she is the discovery of his life. This moment is cinematic magic, simple, powerful, transformative. It's where love burns open, fragile and thrilling. There is foreshadowing woven throughout that scene too. The calm before the storm, the sky so clear, the water still, the moment so alive. You feel the arrow drawn if you know what's coming. That sense heightens every scene that follows. Meanwhile, Rose finds courage. She breaks off society meetings, refuses to dine with Cal, and spends more time with Jack. Her rebellion isn't loud, but it's real. Her self begins to bloom in defiance of expectations. As the first half ends, the iceberg warnings climb more urgent. Messages slide across decks. Crews peer into dark waves and report icebergs ahead. Cameron tightens the screws. The ship is hurtling forward at speed. Cal's arrogance mirrors the ship's hubris, and Jack and Rose's love faces unseen danger. Romance, elegance, hope, and a silent tension that crackles under it all. This first half of Titanic builds slowly but powerfully. You sense everything you really need to know before disaster. Who these people are, what they want, what they stand to lose. It's a world painted in contrasts. Rich and poor, fate and free will, love and loss. By the time the iceberg looms into view, the emotional stakes are as vast as the Atlantic itself. The second half of Titanic begins not with chaos, but with a chilling silence, the kind that carries weight, the kind that knows what's coming. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic collides with the iceberg. There's no explosion, no fire, just a scrape of steel against ice and a quiet understanding among the officers that this isn't just a delay. It's a death sentence. Beneath the surface, seawater surges into the lower compartments. The unsinkable ship has begun to die, and as the realization trickles upward through the ranks, the passengers remain largely unaware, still dancing, still laughing, still living inside the illusion that nothing could go wrong. The tension shifts instantly. Captain Smith confers with Thomas Andrews, the ship's builder. The news is grave. 5 of the watertight compartments have flooded. The Titanic is built to stay afloat with 5 is too many. She will sink. Not might. Will. The words are said calmly, but they land like thunder. In that moment, everything changes. From here, the film moves from romantic epic to survival thriller, keeping emotional focus while letting the scale of the disaster widen. Meanwhile, Jack and Rose are in their own storm. Cal, watching their connection intensify, lashes out in a calculated way. He has the heart of the ocean necklace planted in Jack's coat pocket and accuses him of theft. Jack is arrested and handcuffed in a room below deck, locked away while the ship inches toward catastrophe. It's a betrayal Rose sees through, and the rage on her face says everything. Cal may control the money, but he doesn't control her anymore. When she learns of Jack's imprisonment, she doesn't hesitate. While the ship is listing and the crew is scrambling, she goes back below, into the rising flood, to find him. That rescue becomes one of the film's most suspenseful sequences. Rose, barefoot and soaked, hacks through Jack's handcuffs with an axe, and the two of them burst back into the ship's chaos, together. Above deck, lifeboats are being prepared. The order is women and children first, but confusion reigns. Officers shout conflicting commands. People refuse to believe they're in real danger. Many lifeboats are lowered half-empty, with first-class passengers refusing to board or unsure what to do. Cal continues his manipulation, convincing Rose to get in one of the lifeboats with promises that he and Jack will be on another right behind her. But once lowered into the boat, Rose can't do it. She looks up at Jack, her anchor, her choice, her freedom, and makes the call. She leaps back onto the ship, running through the thickening smoke and chaos to find him again. It's an impulsive act of love, but also defiance. She chooses him. She chooses to stay. From that point forward, the ship begins to unravel. The bow dips lower into the freezing ocean. Lights flicker. Water rushes down grand staircases that once hosted polite conversation and string quartets. And through it all, the class divide still holds. Steerage passengers are locked behind gates. Panic spreads. Families cling to each other. Some pray. Some scream. Some wait in denial. The love story, though still central, now has to fight for breath. Jack and Rose try to reach the top deck. They're soaked, freezing, pushed and pulled by panicked crowds. Cameron's direction here is tight, visceral. Water is everywhere. The ship tilts steeper by the minute. We see the details. Dishes shatter, glass domes implode, corridors fill in seconds. Every beat is a countdown, every second more tense than the last. Characters we've come to know. Andrews, the kind-hearted architect, the loyal ship musicians, even Cal, all have their moments amid the falling order. Thomas Andrews stands quietly near the fireplace, offering advice to those who ask. He knows the ship he built is going down. The musicians continue playing as the deck tilts, providing calm for those who are terrified. These choices, quiet acts of courage, leave emotional imprints. Cal, by contrast, scrambles to save himself. He attempts to buy a spot on a lifeboat with money and power, and when that fails, he lies. He grabs a lost child to pose as a father needing to escape. But the damage is already done. Rose is gone to him. His world of control and appearances has shattered. When the final moments arrive, they're merciless. The ship rises almost vertically. Jack and Rose cling to the stern, now hundreds of feet above the water. Bodies fall. Screams echo. The Titanic, once a symbol of triumph, is now split apart, consumed by the ocean. Cameron doesn't cut away. He lingers, letting us feel the terror. The ship breaks in two with an audible crack. The bow disappears beneath the surface. The stern rises, hesitates, then plunges, pulling hundreds into the icy water. And then silence. In that freezing Atlantic, surrounded by darkness and death, Jack and Rose surface. They find a wooden panel, barely enough for one person. Jack helps Rose onto it, staying in the water himself. He never once tries to climb up beside her. He knows the truth, it wouldn't hold them both. So he talks to her, keeps her awake, makes her promise to survive, to live, to carry on. Slowly, Jack's voice fades. His hands go still. And Rose, even in the numb grip of grief and cold, understands. She lets go. Not of his memory, but of his body, and she survives. When the rescue ship Carpathia arrives, the sea is littered with frozen bodies. Survivors are few. Rose is pulled from the water, wrapped in blankets, asked her name. She says, Rose Dawson. It's not just a tribute, it's a declaration. Jack gave her more than love, he gave her a future. The film returns to the present. Elderly Rose finishes telling the story. Her voice, once light with nostalgia, now carries weight. On the research ship, the crew listens, silenced not just by the tale but by its truth. It was never about treasure. It was about memory, about legacy, about one moment that changed everything. She walks quietly to the ship's edge that night and opens her hand. In it is the heart of the ocean, the necklace, the one thing everyone else wanted. She lets it fall, letting it sink back to the depths, back where it belongs. And then, alone in her cabin, surrounded by photographs of a full life, riding horses, flying planes, raising children, she closes her eyes. Maybe she's asleep, maybe it's something else. But in her dreams, she's young again, standing on the grand staircase of the Titanic, dressed in white. Jack is waiting. Others are watching. And when they kiss, it's not just a reunion. It's a homecoming. The ship is whole. Everyone is there. It's not a sad ending. It's the only one that fits. What Cameron does so masterfully in the second half is bring every thread full circle. Jack's free spirit lives on in Rose's life. Her choice to live honors the sacrifice. The tragedy of the ship becomes the foundation for personal transformation. Even Cal's downfall feels complete. His money and power couldn't save him from what truly mattered. Every moment, every twist, every loss is part of the same emotional wave. From the very first frames of Titanic, the story isn't just about a ship. It's about people. People in transition. People on the edge of defining who they are and who they're willing to become when the world around them starts to crack. The characters in this film aren't just pieces in a historical event. They are the emotional core that makes every crashing wave, every heartbeat, every loss unforgettable. Rose DeWitt Bukater begins as someone suffocating in silk and protocol. She's 17, engaged to a man she doesn't love, and trapped in a world that praises appearances over authenticity. On the surface, she fits perfectly into the polished elite of Titanic's first class. But just beneath the surface, she's unraveling. The pressure from her mother, Ruth, and her fiancé, Cal Hockley, is relentless. She's told how to speak, how to smile, how to dress, and how to behave. And none of it feels like her. Kate Winslet plays Rose with layers. You can see the war inside her, the flickers of rebellion she tries to hide under the weight of obligation. The elegance she wears like armor starts to crack early. When she walks along the stern that night and steps over the rail, it's not just a cry for help. It's her first real act of self-assertion. She doesn't want to die. She just doesn't know how to live in the world being forced on her. And that's when Jack Dawson enters. Jack, played with boundless warmth and energy by Leonardo DiCaprio, is everything Rose is not, at least on the surface. He's poor, unburdened by social expectations, and full of life. He draws, he observes, he says what he feels without a filter. His world is about freedom and presence. But Jack isn't some carefree caricature. There's depth to him. He sees the cracks in Rose, not as flaws but as signs of something real, something rare. He respects her intelligence. He listens without interrupting. He treats her like someone with agency, not like property to be protected or shaped. That's what makes their connection feel so powerful. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. They see something in each other they both lack and deeply need. Jack gives Rose the courage to act, to jump, to speak, to choose. And Rose gives Jack something deeper too, a reason to stand firm when it matters most. Over the course of the film, we watch Rose transform. She moves from passive to active, from constrained to courageous. Her choices evolve. First in secret meetings with Jack, then in outright defiance of Cal and her mother, and finally in risking everything to save the man she loves. By the time she picks up that axe to rescue Jack from below deck, she's no longer the girl from the beginning. She's a force. And what's powerful is that Jack doesn't change much. His arc is smaller but no less meaningful. He starts as someone who believes life is meant to be seized and ends as someone who gives it away for the person he loves. He sacrifices not because he's weak, but because he's strong enough to know what matters. Cal Hockley, played by Zane, is a fascinating contrast to Jack. He represents control, order, and entitlement. His love for Rose is transactional. He gives gifts, expects obedience, and sees her more as an accessory than a partner. But he's not just a villain for villainy sake. Zane infuses him with a touch of desperation. You see that for Cal, Rose is the one thing he can't buy outright, and it enrages him. When he loses her, he loses his illusion of power. He becomes more dangerous, more erratic, culminating in his violent, panicked actions as the ship goes down. Cal doesn't grow. He hardens. His final moments, alone and irrelevant, are a fitting contrast to Rose's liberation. Ruth, Rose's mother, is another vital piece of this web. Played with cool calculation and buried fear, she's not a monster. She's a woman terrified of losing everything. Her pressure on Rose isn't born of malice, but of survival. She's playing the same game Rose is trying to escape. And even though she clings to class and reputation like a lifeline, there's a quiet sadness in her eyes when she realizes her daughter is slipping away. Then there's Molly Brown, the self-made woman who floats between classes with ease. Kathy Bates brings life and strength to the role. She's not just comic relief. Molly is the bridge. She welcomes Jack into her world when no one else will, dresses him for dinner, cheers him on. But her true strength comes later, when she tries to rally lifeboats to return for survivors. She's one of the only first-class passengers who acts with real courage. The ship's architect, Thomas Andrews, is another quiet powerhouse. He knows Titanic's flaws, and when the iceberg hits, he doesn't lie or sugarcoat. He offers honesty, help, and comfort. His calm in the face of failure is heartbreaking. You feel his guilt, but also his dignity. In the final moments, when he straightens a clock or encourages passengers to save themselves, he becomes a symbol of grace under pressure. Even among the supporting characters, everyone has a role. Fabrizio and Tommy, Jack's friends, bring humor, warmth, and ultimately tragedy. Their deaths, though less highlighted, still strike deep. The band that keeps playing as the ship sinks, not for heroism but to soothe fear, becomes a metaphor for humanity holding on to beauty in chaos. Officer Lowe, the one who finally returns with a lifeboat to rescue Rose, becomes a rare figure of redemption. Someone who acts when others do not. And then, framing all of this is older Rose. Gloria Stewart's performance is filled with memory, loss, and wisdom. Her eyes carry decades of love, of pain, of survival. Her telling of the story is what gives the film its structure, but also its soul. Through her, we're reminded this isn't just about two young lovers. It's about what lives on: memory, legacy, the echo of choices made on a ship long gone. When she drops the heart of the ocean into the sea, it's not about giving up a jewel. It's about letting go, about finding peace, about placing the past where it belongs. Every character in Titanic serves a purpose. They aren't background, they're the soul of the ship. They represent different aspects of humanity: love, fear, greed, compassion, denial, courage. And what James Cameron did so effectively was not just write them into a disaster, but place them in a living, breathing world where their choices mattered. The performances carry this weight. Winslet's balance of vulnerability and strength. DiCaprio's blend of charm and sincerity. Zane's cold, controlled fury. Bates' unapologetic wit. Garber's quiet gravitas. Stewart's gentle wisdom. Each one adds a note to the emotional score. You remember the ship sinking, yes, but you also remember Rose's voice trembling as she tells her story. Jack's smile. Cal's glare. Molly's plea. Andrew's final glance at the time. In the end, Titanic is not just a film about a tragedy. It's a film about people surviving it, loving through it, breaking apart and coming back together inside it. The ship may have sunk, but its passengers, through the choices they made, rose above it. And that's why these characters, more than 2 decades later, still live with us. They weren't perfect. They were human. And that's what made them unforgettable. From the very first moments, Titanic wraps itself in layers of meaning and detail that reward the careful viewer, weaving subtle references and Easter eggs into its sweeping narrative. The story isn't just told through words and action. It's whispered in the visuals, the props, and even the soundscape, creating a rich tapestry that feels both intimate and epic. One of the most delicate threads running through the film is the repeated focus on hands. From Jack sketching Rose's portrait to their first touch on the ship's deck, hands symbolize connection and the fragile grasp we have on love and life. The close-ups linger on their fingers intertwining, on the axe Rose wields, on the desperate grip Jack holds onto in the freezing water. These moments emphasize the theme of holding on and letting go, an emotional undercurrent that flows silently but powerfully beneath the dialogue. The grand staircase, an iconic piece of the ship's design, plays a symbolic role beyond just grandeur. The clock above it is shown prominently at several key moments. when Rose first descends, during their dance, and finally, in the dreamlike reunion at the end. The clock hands freeze at the exact time Titanic sank, anchoring the story in historical reality while reminding us that time itself is a character in the tale, a force that traps and releases. James Cameron's commitment to historical accuracy is evident in the smallest details. The carpets, wallpapers, and even the silverware replicate those used on the real Titanic. The White Star Line logos appear discreetly on plates and upholstery, grounding the film in authenticity. Cameron's own artistic hand makes a cameo in the sketch of Rose. The drawing wasn't DiCaprio's work, but the director's, adding a personal touch to the intimacy of that scene. The ship's design also reflects reality in subtle ways. Titanic had 4 funnels, but only 3 were functional. Cameron mirrored this detail on screen, with the 4th funnel emitting less smoke. It's a quiet nod to the ship's real engineering, blending fact with cinematic needs. The soundtrack and sound design carry hidden emotional echoes. At the film's opening, aboard the research vessel searching the wreck, faint sounds of a pianist and distant announcements create an eerie atmosphere of memory and loss. These sounds gently draw viewers into a world haunted by the past. Costumes further deepen the narrative. Rose's wardrobe evolves alongside her character, from the rigid elegance of her early dresses to the flowing white she wears during the final scenes, symbolizing freedom and rebirth. The repeated outfits also subtly link moments in the story, creating visual callbacks that heighten emotional resonance. Even the extras and background characters hold secrets. Attentive viewers can spot figures resembling real passengers, such as John Jacob Astor IV and Isidore Straus, placed carefully in scenes to honor their tragic fates. These inclusions ground the personal love story within the wider historical tragedy, reminding us of the countless lives woven into Titanic's final hours. Small moments humanize the characters in unexpected ways. For instance, when Ruth shouts "sausage" during dinner, it wasn't scripted. It was a genuine flub captured on film, revealing a brief crack in her otherwise composed demeanor. DiCaprio's iconic "I'm the king of the world" was improvised, capturing spontaneous joy and setting the tone for Jack's infectious spirit. The pacing of the disaster itself is meticulously matched to real events. The collision lasts precisely 37 seconds, and the ship's sinking spans 2 hours and 40 minutes, echoing the actual timeline. This attention to detail amplifies the tension and realism, pulling viewers into the urgency and chaos of the tragedy. Even the film's famous song, "My Heart Will Go On," holds a hidden story. Initially, Cameron resisted adding a pop song, but the collaboration between composer James Horner and Celine Dion won him over, creating an emotional crescendo that now feels inseparable from the film's identity. These carefully placed details aren't mere trivia. They deepen the storytelling, weaving a network of meaning beneath the surface. Each motif, from the touch of a hand to the frozen clock, from historical cameos to costume echoes, serves to heighten the emotional stakes and create a richer experience. They remind us that Titanic isn't just a disaster movie, but a poetic meditation on love, memory, and loss, where every frame holds more than meets the eye. Making Titanic was nothing short of a colossal undertaking, a journey marked by ambition, sweat, setbacks, and unexpected moments that often rivaled the drama on screen. James Cameron set out not just to tell a love story or recreate a disaster, but to craft an immersive experience that would feel real and unforgettable. The scale of the production alone became a story in itself, one filled with fascinating challenges and surprising behind-the-scenes twists. The project's origins began with Cameron's obsession with the Titanic wreck. His experience diving multiple times to the actual sunken ship inspired his vision of a film that would be both an epic romance and a painstakingly accurate historical recreation. To bring this vision to life, Cameron demanded unprecedented realism, but the logistics nearly broke the production before filming even began. One of the first major hurdles was building the ship. Cameron insisted on creating a near full-scale replica of Titanic's exterior, which meant constructing massive sets that could be flooded and moved. The primary set was built at Fox Baja Studios in Mexico, covering over 17 acres. The bow, stern, and deck were painstakingly recreated down to the last detail, including working elevators, railings, and staircases. The set was so large that moving from one end to the other sometimes took minutes, making coordination on set a massive challenge. This scale was essential for immersing actors and viewers in the experience, but it brought its own physical risks and logistical nightmares. Water was one of the biggest challenges. Scenes involving flooding decks and sinking corridors required tanks holding millions of gallons of water. The cast and crew had to work in freezing cold water for hours on end, often submerged with limited visibility. Kate Winslet later revealed that shooting the scenes where Rose struggles to climb the ladder onto the overturned lifeboat were physically exhausting, pushing her to the edge. Leonardo DiCaprio also endured cold, heavy conditions but kept a positive spirit, often joking on set to ease the tension. In fact, the intense water scenes were so difficult that several actors suffered minor injuries or illnesses from the prolonged exposure. One famously strange incident involved Winslet developing hypothermia during shooting, but she pushed through, determined to get the perfect take. The dedication to realism here paid off spectacularly. The water looks icy, chaotic, and terrifying, grounding the disaster scale in a visceral way few disaster films manage. Casting was another wild journey. Initially, big stars like Matthew McConaughey and Benicio del Toro auditioned for Jack Dawson before DiCaprio landed the role. Cameron insisted on DiCaprio, believing his raw energy perfectly captured Jack's spirit. Winslet, relatively unknown at the time, was chosen because of her intensity and emotional range. Their chemistry wasn't immediate on set, though. It took time for the young actors to build trust and find the intimacy that makes their relationship so believable. Director Cameron was famously demanding, pushing both to their limits, sometimes calling for dozens of takes to get subtle moments just right. Zane, who played Kilhockley, has shared stories of how he channeled a mix of aristocratic entitlement and simmering rage, drawing inspiration from classic villains while adding his own flair. His on-set rivalry with DiCaprio was all professional but added tension that translated into their characters' animosity. Behind the cameras, Cameron was known for being a perfectionist with a notorious temper. He clashed at times with studio executives over budget and schedule. Originally planned as a $100 million film, Titanic ended up costing over $200 million, making it the most expensive film ever made at the time. Studios worried about the risks, but Cameron pushed forward, confident that the story and visuals would captivate audiences. Technical innovation was another hallmark of the production. The visual effects team developed new technology to realistically render the ship sinking, using a combination of large-scale models, miniatures, and cutting-edge CGI. The underwater shots of the wreckage were some of the first filmed with remote-operated vehicles equipped with cameras, blending documentary footage with the narrative. One of the most iconic and challenging shots was the sequence of the ship breaking apart. Cameron spent months studying historical photographs and survivor accounts to choreograph the collapse precisely. The team built a giant hydraulic model that could simulate the hull bending and snapping in slow motion, allowing them to capture the terrifying reality of Titanic's final moments. Music also became a defining element. Composer James Horner created a haunting score, blending classical motifs with Celtic influences. The now famous song, My Heart Will Go On, performed by Celine Dion, was a late addition. Cameron initially resisted including a pop ballad, fearing it would undermine the film's tone. But once the song was added, it became inseparable from the movie's identity, elevating its emotional impact worldwide. There were also some unexpected moments on set that have become legendary among fans. DiCaprio's line, "I'm the king of the world," was improvised during filming, capturing his character's youthful exuberance perfectly. Cameron loved the spontaneity and kept it in the final cut, knowing it would resonate deeply. Interestingly, the film's shooting schedule had to be adjusted around the actors' availability and weather conditions in Mexico, delaying some scenes and creating a complex choreography of indoor and outdoor shoots. The cast and crew sometimes worked 14-hour days in brutal heat or freezing water, pushing themselves to exhaustion. Controversies emerged too. Some criticized the film for romanticizing a tragedy or for historical inaccuracies, particularly in portraying class distinctions and personal stories. Cameron responded by emphasizing that the film was a blend of fact and fiction, aiming to capture the spirit and emotion rather than being a documentary. He paid close attention to survivor testimonies and tried to honor their memory, even consulting experts and descendants. The film's scale also led to unique moments of camaraderie and hardship. The cast bonded over shared challenges, from intense rehearsals to the emotional toll of filming harrowing scenes. Kate Winslet has spoken about the emotional impact of repeatedly shooting scenes of loss and desperation, revealing how the weight of the story stayed with her long after filming wrapped. Despite the challenges, Titanic became a triumph of collaboration and vision. Its mix of groundbreaking technology, powerful performances, and meticulous craftsmanship set a new standard for filmmaking. It wasn't just a movie. It was a journey of perseverance, passion, and creativity on a scale rarely seen. All these behind-the-scenes stories remind us that Titanic's magic didn't just happen in the editing room. It was forged through the dedication, sweat, and sometimes pain of hundreds of people determined to bring a legendary story to life in a way the world had never seen before. The very obstacles they faced mirror the themes of survival and human spirit at the heart of the film, making the story behind Titanic just as compelling as the one on screen. In Titanic, certain scenes stand out not just because of their spectacle, but because they capture the emotional core of the story, anchoring the film's sweeping tragedy in intimate human moments. These key sequences do more than move the plot forward. They invite the audience to feel deeply, reflect on loss and love, and connect with the characters on a profound level. What makes these moments so special is their layered storytelling, combining direction, performance, music, and visual design to create an experience that lingers long after the credits roll. Take, for instance, the first time Jack and Rose truly connect, their encounter at the bow of the ship. It's a scene bathed in golden light, the vast ocean stretching behind them, and it carries a sense of liberation and possibility. Rose, trapped by her social circumstances and her controlling fiancé, finds in Jack a breath of fresh air, someone who sees beyond her status. Their playful interaction, culminating in the iconic moment where Jack declares, "I'm the king of the world," captures a fleeting sense of freedom and joy that's poignant because of what's to come. This scene establishes their bond not just through words but through movement, expression, and the expansive setting, making the moment feel like a brief escape from the constraints surrounding them. This initial joy makes the sinking sequence all the more devastating. When the iceberg strikes, the mood shifts dramatically, from light and hopeful to tense and chaotic. Cameron's direction here is masterful. The camera moves swiftly among passengers, officers, and crew, weaving individual stories into a larger tapestry of panic and heroism. The frantic efforts to evacuate, the confusion over lifeboats, and the collapsing social order convey a deeply human tragedy. What's especially striking is how the film balances spectacle with personal stories. Amidst the chaos, viewers remain rooted in Jack and Rose's struggle, making the disaster feel immediate and intimate. The scene where Rose chooses to stay with Jack rather than escape on a lifeboat is a turning point rich with emotional and thematic weight. Here, love transcends survival instincts and social divides. Rose's defiance of her fiancé and family, her leap into the icy waters, symbolizes her break from the old life and the constraints imposed on her. The pain and fear are palpable, heightened by Winslet's raw performance and the icy realism of the water scenes. This moment crystallizes the film's core theme, love as a force that defies convention and even death. Another profoundly impactful scene is the image of Jack and Rose clinging to the wooden panel in the freezing ocean. It's visually simple but emotionally overwhelming, a quiet tableau of endurance amid disaster. The camera lingers on their faces, capturing exhaustion, hope, and love. Here, silence and subtle sound design amplify the gravity. No grand speeches, just two people holding on. The scene resonates because it distills the entire tragedy into one human moment, reminding viewers of the personal toll behind the statistics. The final moments of Jack's death and Rose's survival also carry tremendous emotional weight. Cameron's decision to extend Jack's last moments, showing his fading strength and Rose's desperate attempts to keep him alive, draws viewers deeply into the heartbreak. Winslet's portrayal of Rose's pain and determination here is unforgettable, anchoring the film's ending in the reality of loss and resilience. This sequence also serves as a meditation on memory and survival. Rose's vow to never let go echoes throughout the film, giving the narrative a spiritual layer that elevates it beyond mere disaster story. Musically, these key moments are enhanced by James Horner's haunting score, weaving Celtic melodies and sweeping orchestration to underline the film's emotional highs and lows. The iconic song My Heart Will Go On, performed during the end credits, became a cultural touchstone because it distilled the film's themes of eternal love and remembrance into a single, soaring ballad. The music's presence throughout the film subtly supports emotional beats, whether in the quiet moments between Jack and Rose or the chaos of the sinking. Audience reactions to these scenes speak volumes about their impact. The bow scene's feeling of freedom often sparks hope and excitement, making the impending disaster all the more tragic. The sinking sequence, with its realistic depiction of panic and sacrifice, evokes a mixture of awe and sorrow. Viewers consistently mention the emotional power of Jack's death and Rose's survival as moments that stay with them, not just because of the visuals, but because of the humanity at their center. Critically, these moments have been analyzed as exemplars of how Titanic balances epic filmmaking with intimate storytelling. Rather than overwhelming viewers with spectacle alone, Cameron roots the film's emotional core in the characters' experiences. This approach allows the tragedy to resonate on multiple levels: historical, personal, and universal. The film's ability to evoke empathy and keep viewers invested in the fate of fictional characters amid real historical events is a testament to the strength of these scenes. Moreover, these key moments contribute to the film's broader themes: the clash between social classes, the fragility of human life, and the power of love to transcend even the most impossible circumstances. The interactions between Jack, a free-spirited artist from the lower class, and Rose, a woman bound by privilege and expectation, highlight social tensions that mirror the broader tragedy of Titanic's sinking. Their love story, centered in these pivotal scenes, challenges the rigid hierarchies of their time and invites viewers to question notions of destiny and choice. In essence, the film's most impactful scenes are not isolated instances but integral threads in its emotional and thematic fabric. They guide the viewer through joy, fear, hope, and despair, creating a journey that feels both epic and personal. Through masterful direction, compelling performances, and evocative music, these moments transform Titanic from a historical reenactment into a timeless story about the human spirit facing overwhelming odds. By blending spectacle with intimacy, these scenes shape the overall experience, making Titanic more than just a disaster movie. It becomes a profound exploration of love, loss, and memory that continues to resonate across generations. Titanic unfolds not just as a tragic love story, but as a rich exploration of themes and symbols that ripple beneath its surface, inviting viewers to reflect on deeper human truths and societal realities. From the moment the ship's mighty silhouette appears on screen, the film sets up a layered narrative where the grandiosity of the vessel itself becomes a metaphor for human ambition, pride, and vulnerability. The ship is more than a setting. It is a character embodying the pinnacle of technological achievement and the hubris that often accompanies it. At the heart of the story is the tension between freedom and constraint, personified in the relationship between Jack and Rose. Rose's life before meeting Jack is marked by rigid social expectations. Her engagement to Cal, the pressure to conform to upper-class decorum, and the suffocating grip of her mother's ambitions. Jack, by contrast, represents spontaneity, artistic freedom, and the defiance of social boundaries. Their romance is a rebellion against the class divisions that defined the early 20th century, highlighting how love can challenge and transcend societal constraints. This theme resonates throughout the film, reminding viewers of the universal desire to break free from imposed roles and find authentic connection. The symbolism of water runs deeply through the narrative, serving as both a literal and figurative force. The ocean is initially a space of adventure and possibility, with scenes of the ship cutting through the waves and Jack's triumphant moment at the bow. But as disaster strikes, water transforms into a symbol of destruction and mortality. It is a force indifferent to human ambition, swallowing the grandest creation and leveling social hierarchies in its wake. The cold, relentless ocean also underscores themes of survival and sacrifice, as characters fight not only against physical drowning but against despair and loss. Fire, too, plays a subtle but crucial role. The ship's boilers, churning furiously below decks, symbolize the industrial power driving Titanic's progress, but also hint at the danger lurking beneath the surface. The heat and smoke from the engine rooms contrast sharply with the icy waters, creating a tension between human control and nature's unpredictability. This elemental interplay reinforces the idea that technological advances, no matter how impressive, exist within a larger, uncontrollable natural world. The film's use of light and darkness mirrors the characters' internal journeys. Bright, warm light often accompanies moments of hope and connection, like the scenes of Jack and Rose together on the deck, while shadow and darkness envelop scenes of fear, loss, and death. This contrast visually reinforces the fragile line between life and death, hope and despair, freedom and confinement. Social commentary is woven seamlessly into the fabric of the narrative. The stark class distinctions aboard Titanic are not just background details but vital forces shaping characters' fates. First-class passengers enjoy lavish surroundings and priority for lifeboats, while those in steerage face neglect and danger. This disparity exposes the harsh realities of early 20th century society and critiques the inequalities that persisted even in moments of crisis. Rose's crossing of class boundaries, both socially and physically, challenges these divisions, suggesting a human commonality that outlasts status and wealth. The film also subtly critiques the arrogance of industrial progress and the myth of human invincibility. Titanic, billed as unsinkable, is a symbol of human pride that ignores warnings and natural limits. Its sinking serves as a sobering reminder that no matter how advanced technology becomes, nature's power remains supreme. This message resonates in a modern context, inviting reflection on humanity's ongoing relationship with the environment and the consequences of overreach. Identity and transformation are key thematic currents running through the film. Rose's journey from a constrained, duty-bound woman to a survivor who reclaims her life is a powerful narrative of personal liberation. Her willingness to reject her predetermined path, symbolized by her breaking free from the necklace and her former fiancé, reflects a broader message about self-determination and resilience. Jack's role as a catalyst for this transformation underscores the film's belief in the redemptive power of love and courage. Memory and storytelling frame the entire movie, beginning and ending with the present-day exploration of the wreck. Older Rose's narration serves as a bridge between past and present, emphasizing how personal histories intersect with larger historical events. The film invites viewers to consider how stories preserve memory, honor those lost, and keep love alive across generations. This meta-narrative layer adds depth, reminding us that history is not just dates and facts but lived experience shaped by emotion and perspective. Symbolism appears in many small but meaningful details. The heart-shaped heart of the ocean necklace represents desire, wealth, and ultimately loss and redemption. Rose's discarding of the necklace at the film's end is a symbolic act of letting go of the past and reclaiming her own narrative. Similarly, the recurring motif of the drawing, the portrait Jack creates of Rose, captures themes of freedom and self-expression, immortalizing a moment of vulnerability and trust. The film also uses physical spaces to symbolize psychological states. The grand staircase, with its ornate design and looming presence, embodies the rigid social structure of the upper class, while the chaotic, cramped steerage levels represent confinement and hardship. The contrast between these spaces visually reinforces the social commentary at the story's core. Even the costumes carry symbolic weight. Rose's transition from stiff, restrictive gowns to freer, more flowing attire parallels her emotional liberation. The colors she wears shift from cold blues and whites to warm tones, mirroring her transformation from repression to self-empowerment. Ultimately, Titanic is a meditation on human vulnerability in the face of fate and history. It explores how love, courage, and memory provide meaning amid tragedy. The film's themes and symbols weave together to create a narrative that resonates beyond its historical setting, touching on universal questions about class, identity, and the forces that shape our lives. Through its storytelling, Titanic invites viewers not just to witness a disaster, but to reflect on the enduring power of hope and connection in a fragile world. Titanic is a masterclass in cinematic craftsmanship, where every frame, sound, and cut works together to immerse the audience in an epic story of love, tragedy, and human resilience. James Cameron's vision is clear throughout, to create not just a film, but an experience that transports viewers onto the ship itself, feeling every heartbeat, every breath, and every crash of waves. This immersive quality is achieved through a combination of meticulous visual storytelling, innovative cinematography, precise editing, and evocative sound design, all of which come together in a seamless narrative flow. Right from the opening scenes, the film's visual style grabs attention. The cinematography, led by Russell Carpenter, balances grandeur and intimacy with remarkable finesse. Sweeping wide shots of the Titanic cutting through the ocean establish the vast scale and majesty of the ship, setting up the epic scope of the story. These wide shots contrast beautifully with tight close-ups on characters' faces, where subtle expressions reveal internal emotions. The camera movement often mirrors the emotional tone, smooth, graceful tracking shots during moments of hope and joy, shaky, rapid cuts during the sinking's chaos, guiding the viewer's emotional journey effortlessly. One of the film's most iconic shots, the bow scene where Jack and Rose stand with arms outstretched, showcases Cameron's skill in visual storytelling. The composition frames the characters against the endless sea and sky, symbolizing freedom and possibility. The camera gently glides around them, capturing both their joy and the vastness that awaits. This sequence exemplifies how visual elements serve narrative themes without a word spoken. Lighting plays a crucial role in shaping the mood and reinforcing the story's emotional beats. Early scenes are bathed in warm, golden hues, conveying a sense of optimism and elegance aboard the ship. As the film progresses toward disaster, the lighting grows colder, shadows deepen, and the palette shifts to blues and grays, visually reflecting the creeping doom and despair. During the sinking, flashes of fire and emergency lighting pierce the darkness, heightening tension and urgency. This careful use of light and color creates a powerful, almost subconscious emotional rhythm. Editing is another key element that ensures the story's pacing feels natural and gripping. The film's nearly 3-hour runtime is balanced between slower, character-driven moments and fast-paced sequences of action and danger. Editor Conrad Buff, along with co-editors, skillfully intercuts between different groups of passengers, weaving individual stories into a broader tapestry. This intercutting not only maintains suspense but deepens emotional engagement by showing how the disaster affects people from all walks of life simultaneously. The rhythm of cuts quickens dramatically during the sinking, matching the characters' frantic efforts to survive, then slows during quieter, poignant moments, allowing viewers to absorb the gravity of loss. Sound design enriches the film's realism and emotional impact. The creaking of the ship's hull, the rush of water flooding compartments, the clamor of panicked voices, and the distant wail of foghorns create a rich aural landscape. These elements ground the story in physical reality, making the sinking feel immediate and visceral. Even moments of silence or near silence, like the scene where Jack and Rose cling to the floating debris, are charged with tension, highlighting the isolation and fragility of their situation. Music by James Horner ties these elements together, adding an emotional layer that swells and recedes with the story. Horner's score combines sweeping orchestral arrangements with Celtic motifs, evoking both grandeur and intimacy. The music underscores the film's central themes, love, loss, and hope, without ever overwhelming the visuals or performances. The inclusion of My Heart Will Go On during the credits, while initially controversial, ultimately became an anthem encapsulating the film's emotional core, reinforcing its lasting impact on audiences. Stylistically, Cameron employs a blend of practical effects and cutting-edge technology to create immersive visuals. The use of full-scale sets flooded with water allowed actors to interact with their environment realistically, capturing authentic reactions and movements. This choice distinguishes the film from other disaster movies relying heavily on CGI. However, computer-generated imagery was seamlessly integrated to enhance large-scale shots. such as the ship breaking apart, and to depict the underwater wreckage, combining documentary-style footage with dramatization. The camera work during the sinking is particularly notable for its dynamic use of perspective. Long, fluid shots follow characters through flooded corridors, heightening immersion and tension. Handheld cameras mimic the instability and chaos of the moment, placing viewers in the midst of the panic. These stylistic choices create a visceral sense of danger and disorientation without sacrificing clarity or narrative coherence. Costume and production design also contribute to the film's visual storytelling, subtly conveying class distinctions, character personalities, and emotional states. The opulence of first-class attire and decor contrasts sharply with the simplicity of steerage clothing and quarters, visually reinforcing the social themes woven throughout the narrative. Changes in costume throughout the film mark character development, particularly Rose's transformation from constrained aristocrat to liberated survivor. Moreover, the framing and blocking of scenes often highlight power dynamics and relationships. For example, scenes between Rose and Cal position her lower or confined within the frame, suggesting control and oppression. Conversely, moments with Jack show openness and equal footing, often using balanced or low-angle shots that empower her character. These visual cues deepen viewers' understanding of character motivations and conflicts without relying solely on dialogue. In summary, Titanic's cinematic techniques serve the story at every turn. From sweeping panoramas that establish grandeur to intimate close-ups capturing raw emotion, every element is carefully calibrated to engage the audience fully. The interplay of light, sound, editing, and camera work creates a rhythm that mirrors the narrative's emotional highs and lows. Cameron's stylistic choices, melding practical effects with digital enhancements, blending documentary realism with romantic drama, shape a film that feels both epic and deeply personal. This cohesive visual storytelling transforms Titanic into more than just a disaster movie. It becomes an immersive journey that draws viewers into a lost world and invites them to experience the triumphs and tragedies of those aboard. The film's technical mastery not only supports its narrative but elevates it, crafting an unforgettable cinematic experience that resonates emotionally and visually long after the story ends. The magic of Titanic extends far beyond its epic story and breathtaking visuals. Much of what makes the film unforgettable lies in the palpable chemistry between its lead actors and the energy on set that translated seamlessly into the final performances. The connection between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet is the beating heart of the film, giving their romance a genuine warmth and intensity that captivates viewers. Their chemistry was no accident. It was forged through a mix of careful casting, deliberate directorial guidance, and countless hours spent together on the massive set. From the moment DiCaprio and Winslet met, there was a spark that director James Cameron knew could carry the emotional weight of the story. Their relationship wasn't just a professional collaboration but grew into a strong friendship that brought depth and authenticity to their scenes. This bond allowed them to take risks, to be vulnerable in front of the camera, and to explore the nuances of Jack and Rose's evolving relationship. It's clear in the way they play off each other. The laughter, the lingering glances, the subtle gestures, that their connection was heartfelt and real. The famous bow scene, for example, crackles with genuine joy, not just scripted romance, which makes the moment feel timeless. Behind the scenes, the production itself was a colossal undertaking that demanded resilience and camaraderie from the cast and crew. Filming aboard the meticulously recreated Titanic sets involved long hours in freezing water tanks, often under grueling conditions. The physical demands on the actors were immense, and their shared challenges fostered a strong sense of unity. Leonardo, in particular, has spoken about how the cold water scenes pushed him to new levels of commitment, and Kate often mentioned how their ability to support each other off-camera helped them deliver performances full of raw emotion. Other cast members also contributed significantly to the film's dynamic. Zane as Cal offered a convincing portrayal of entitlement and menace, his tense interactions with Winslet's Rose adding necessary conflict. Kathy Bates brought warmth and humor as the outspoken Molly Brown, grounding the story with moments of levity amid the tragedy. The supporting cast, ranging from the stoic Captain Smith to the loyal crew and frightened passengers, Each brought nuance that enriched the film's texture. Their off-screen relationships often mirrored their on-screen roles, lending a naturalistic feel to ensemble scenes that might otherwise have felt staged. One anecdote that has become part of Titanic lore is the length of time required for the water tank scenes. Actors spent days submerged in cold water, which tested their endurance but also built a unique bond. Cameron was relentless in pursuit of realism, sometimes pushing the cast and crew to their limits, but his dedication inspired respect and admiration. The shared experience of hardship on set created a genuine team spirit that is visible in the performances, particularly during the sinking sequences where the chaos feels lived in and authentic. Audience reactions to Titanic upon its release in 1997 were immediate and intense. The film struck a chord worldwide, blending history, romance, and disaster into a package that appealed across demographics. Many viewers were drawn by the sweeping love story but stayed for the immersive experience and emotional depth. The chemistry between DiCaprio and Winslet was repeatedly praised in reviews and became a defining feature of the film's legacy. Fans bonded over the characters' journey, often expressing how moved they were by the tragic romance and the heroic struggles aboard the doomed ship. Critics acknowledged the film's ambition and technical achievement, although some initially questioned its length and melodrama. Over time, however, Titanic has been recognized not just as a blockbuster but as a cultural milestone that redefined what a disaster film and a romance could be. Its record-breaking box office success reflected broad audience appeal, but it was the sustained fan engagement that cemented its place in cinema history. From fan clubs to tribute events, the film inspired a dedicated following that continues decades later. The lasting impact of the film's cast chemistry and set dynamics is evident in how often DiCaprio and Winslet are cited as one of cinema's most memorable romantic pairs. Their partnership has influenced countless films since, setting a benchmark for authenticity and emotional connection. Behind the scenes, the shared experiences shaped not only the movie but the actors themselves, creating memories and relationships that outlasted the production. In essence, Titanic's success and enduring appeal are deeply rooted in the human connections forged both on screen and off. The interplay of talent, dedication, and genuine friendship among the cast enriched the storytelling, making the characters feel real and the drama compelling. Combined with audience passion and critical recognition, these elements form a powerful synergy that elevates Titanic from a historical epic to an unforgettable emotional journey that continues to captivate hearts worldwide. Titanic didn't just tell a story, it reshaped the landscape of cinema and left an indelible mark on popular culture, setting new standards for epic filmmaking and emotional storytelling. Its release in 1997 heralded a turning point, proving that a film could be both a massive blockbuster and a deeply affecting love story, appealing to wide audiences around the globe. The movie's legacy extends far beyond box office numbers. It transformed how studios approached historical dramas, disaster films, and romance, influencing countless productions that followed. At its core, Titanic expanded the possibilities of spectacle and intimacy coexisting in one film. Prior to this, disaster movies often emphasized thrills and special effects over character depth, while romances frequently stayed in smaller, more personal settings. Cameron's vision intertwined these elements seamlessly, crafting an immersive world where grand tragedy and tender human moments coexist. This fusion became a blueprint, inspiring filmmakers to pursue ambitious projects that blend genre conventions in bold new ways. Technically, Titanic was groundbreaking. Its innovative use of CGI combined with practical effects created one of the most realistic ship recreations ever seen. The painstaking attention to detail, from the accurate design of the Titanic's interiors to the choreography of the sinking sequence, raised the bar for production quality. The film's success helped accelerate investment in digital effects, encouraging studios to embrace emerging technologies. This legacy paved the way for the visual spectacles that dominate today's blockbusters, where immersive worlds and believable effects are expected. The film's narrative approach also influenced storytelling styles. By framing the tragedy through the lens of a personal love story, Titanic invited audiences to connect emotionally with historical events in a way that felt immediate and intimate. This method has been echoed in many subsequent films and TV series, dealing with large-scale disasters or historical moments, where individual human stories serve as emotional anchors for broader narratives. Culturally, Titanic became a phenomenon, capturing imaginations worldwide and embedding itself into collective memory. Its influence touched fashion, music, and even tourism, as interest in the real Titanic and its history surged. The soundtrack, particularly the song My Heart Will Go On, became an anthem that defined a generation's emotional landscape. The film's characters, Jack and Rose, entered the cultural lexicon as archetypes of tragic, doomed love. This resonance ensured that Titanic would be referenced, parodied, and celebrated across media, sustaining its relevance decades after its debut. The film's achievements were recognized through an impressive haul of awards, including 11 Oscars, tying the record for the most Academy Awards won by a single film. These accolades celebrated its technical mastery, acting, direction, and score, confirming the movie's status as a landmark in cinematic history. Beyond awards, the milestones it reached at the box office were staggering, becoming the highest-grossing film worldwide for many years and demonstrating the powerful draw of well-crafted storytelling combined with spectacle. But Titanic's significance goes beyond commercial and critical success. It remains a touchstone for themes of human resilience, love, and the tragic consequences of pride. Its portrayal of class divides and the fragility of life continues to resonate in a world still grappling with inequality and uncertainty. The film's emotional core, two people finding connection amid catastrophe, speaks to timeless human experiences, ensuring it touches new audiences with each generation. What truly cements Titanic's legacy is its ability to evoke empathy and wonder simultaneously. It reminds viewers that behind every historical headline lies a multitude of personal stories, of courage, loss, and hope. The film invites audiences to remember the past not just as distant history, but as a living tapestry of human emotion, a reminder of the power of storytelling itself. In conclusion, Titanic stands as more than a movie. It is a cultural landmark that reshaped filmmaking, storytelling, and audience expectations. Its fusion of technical innovation, compelling narrative, and emotional depth created a timeless classic that continues to inspire filmmakers and move audiences worldwide. Its legacy endures because it speaks to universal truths wrapped in unforgettable cinema, ensuring that the story of the Titanic, and the love that unfolded on its decks, will live on for generations to come. Titanic remains one of the most remarkable cinematic achievements of its era, a film that masterfully combines epic scale with intimate storytelling, breathtaking visuals with deep emotional resonance. Its defining elements, an unforgettable love story set against the backdrop of one of history's greatest maritime tragedies, continue to captivate audiences, inviting viewers into a world where grandeur and human vulnerability collide. From the compelling performances of Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet to James Cameron's visionary direction, every aspect of the film works in harmony to create a timeless experience. What truly sets Titanic apart is its seamless blend of technical mastery and heartfelt storytelling. The painstaking attention to detail in recreating the ship, the innovative use of practical and digital effects, and the evocative cinematography all serve to immerse the audience fully in the world of 1912. Yet, beyond spectacle, it is the emotional core, the romance between Jack and Rose, the exploration of social divides, and the human drama of survival that ensures the story resonates deeply across generations. These layers of meaning, combined with powerful performances and a memorable score, elevate Titanic beyond a historical disaster movie to a cultural touchstone. Its influence echoes through the years, inspiring filmmakers and audiences alike, proving that cinema can be both grand and personal, thrilling and touching. The film's ability to balance large-scale action with intimate moments has become a benchmark for storytelling, demonstrating the enduring power of character-driven narratives amidst epic circumstances. Moreover, its legacy is preserved not only in awards and box office records, but in the way it continues to spark conversation, analysis, and heartfelt connection among viewers worldwide. As we reflect on Titanic, we see a film that embodies the art of cinema, where every frame, every note of music, and every performance works together to create a powerful emotional journey. It reminds us why movies matter. They transport us, challenge us, and invite us to share in stories that define our humanity. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together.